Good morning and welcome back to A Better Choice Homestead. I am popping in with a second video this weekend because I am super excited about something that I want to share with you. I usually only post one video per weekend and it drops on Sunday, but I actually dropped one on Saturday this weekend as well. So the one I dropped on Saturday was scheduled to drop on Sunday, but this video I'm so excited about that I'm doing two back to back. I have figured out a DIY way of getting the large soil blocks to work. I have been struggling with those. They are really a challenge. If you've seen any of my other couple videos on soil blocking, you'll see the struggles that I've been having. But this DIY method that I have come up with is actually covering all of those pain points. I've got some in here that I can show you. And then I'm going to do some new soil blocks as well. But let me give you an update on how these guys are doing. So this is a tray of peppers that I did in the official large soil blocks. And then I have two tomatillas here on the end. Those are looking fabulous. So these guys are doing great. The tray is very, very heavy. This is a Bootstrap Farmer extra strength 10-20 tray. And I don't think a smaller tray would hold the weight of this much soil. I have 4 trays of onions. These are getting a little floppy. I've probably overwatered them. This is the only tray that's happening too. But I have 4 trays of onions, so 200 onions total. And they are doing really, really well. I'm really pleased with, especially on some of them, the size of the stems already. And these guys will go out into the garden probably in 2 weeks. And then I have my tray of bunching onions. And I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and up pot these as well. They look fine. They're doing great. But bunching onions, they do like to bunch. They want to be planted together. But this is a pretty shallow dish. So I think I'm going to put them into a larger block. The celery from the video I posted a week ago is looking great. So I had transplanted 3 celeries. I separated them and transplanted them into their own pots because some of the germination that I had was so far behind the others, and they have bounced right back. These look gorgeous, and these are also going to be going out into the garden very soon. Look at this lettuce flat. This was all planted in the medium-sized soil block, and it looks amazing. This is going out into the garden this weekend if I can get my green stocks refilled, and that is the plan. It is a nice sunny day today, but look how lovely that lettuce looks. I am so excited to have homegrown lettuce again. These are the brassicas that I potted last week, and they have really taken off. They've gotten a lot bigger since getting into these larger soil blocks. Again, the weight in here is really heavy. I can only get 8 blocks in this 10-20 tray, and you can see that there's a little bit of wasted space there at the end. But we're fixing that here in this video. So these are looking great. I've got some more brassicas here. I've got some tomatoes that I did in the new soil blocks that I'll be showing you today. I've got another whole or half flat of tomatoes that still need to be potted up. I am not going to get to these ones today, but they look great as well. Here's an update on the basil that I planted. We have excellent germination in there. So a lot of different basils. We got 12 different basils in here. And this is the method I'm going to stick with for starting my seeds. I love this method. This is 2 foil pans nested together. And the top pan, I just used a knife and I cut a bunch of holes all over the bottom of the top pan. And then it sits inside the second one. which would hold any drainage from water. This makes it super, super easy to just get a whole bunch of seeds. Like this is Queen Siam basil right here. I can just drop a whole bunch of seeds. This little guy's getting kind of big. He can come get potted up soon. But I can just lift these out and then transplant them into the medium soil block, and it works beautifully. This is inexpensive. These pans I wash and I reuse at the end of the season. I started with new pans again this year. So the last set of pans that I used had 5 years under their belt. So that's pretty good. And if I were to start this many seeds in those individual cells, I would be using a lot of different trays, taking up a whole lot more space. I love this method. My yarrow, which is going to be a ground cover out front this year, this is doing excellent. And this tray is on its last leg. It's cracked right there. This is not a Bootstrap Farmer tray. This is the last season I'll use this tray. But these are the tiny soil blocks. So this whole tray was filled with soil blocks. And then I put the yarrow in here. There's 3 different kinds of yarrow in here. So I've got tags back here denoting where they are. When using the tiny soil blocks, this is the only way that I've had success, is if you're doing one container with all one thing. Otherwise, if you don't fill a whole container, your blocks will move or they will dry out. And either way, it's a nightmare to keep track of what's in each block. But if you do it this way, it works really well. It works for the yarrow. And it's also working for the thyme. Now, the thyme I wasn't able to get into each individual tiny cell because the seeds were so small, I had to sprinkle them. But this is still a lot of thyme. And this is common thyme, and it is going to be a ground cover in my backyard. And in this tray, I have eggplants. I had a lot of eggplants and something came in. I don't know if you can see this, but I've got stems with no leaves all over the place. Something came in all over the place. Something came in and ate these. I have no idea what, and I'm pretty upset about it. Some of them are regenerating. Right here. Some of these are starting to regenerate some leaves. Like there's one that's popping back up on this one. But I am going to go ahead and replant some eggplant. I know that I'm about 2 weeks late on starting eggplant, but I'm still going to do it. I wanted eggplant to be the star of my garden this year, so I'm kind of devastated about this. I have no idea what mowed these down. But yeah, I'm just going to do more and we'll see. And if I don't get enough, I'll go to the farmer's market and buy some eggplants. The nice thing about starting your own is you get to pick the variety. If you're buying pre-starts, they're probably a very common type variety, and I like the ones that are not so common. This is really unfortunate. I keep trying to find whatever it is that's doing this, and no luck so far. And last, I have here some huckleberries. These on the end here are huckleberries, and then I have a couple brassicas and some peppers in here. These are all mystery. I know what the huckleberries are. They're tagged, but everything else is mystery. So these started out in those tiny soil blocks, and I could not keep track of what they were. So these are peppers. I don't know what kind, and a couple cabbages it looks like. But these, in this very heavy Bootstrap Farmer 1020 tray, these are my DIY soil blocks, and that's what I'm going to be showing you today. So let's get over to the table and let's take a look at that. Oh, but real quick, I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see the table. I'm at a point now where not everything fits on the racks. And I've mentioned in other videos that in the past, I usually set up 5 of these racks for all of my plants. And that's pretty overwhelming. It takes up a lot of space. It's a lot of light to use as well. And it's a lot of plants that you then have to transplant into the garden. So this year I'm trying really hard to hold myself to one rack to start things out in the garden that can be started in the garden, but I'm still out of space. So now I'm time sharing. So I've got my table right here filled with plants and my rack filled with plants. And what I'm doing is a 12-hour rotation so that everything has at least 12 hours under the grow lights as possible. And that actually brings me to the lights here, these. I've mentioned in another video that these are shop lights. So they are actually 22 watt, 2200 lumen, and 6500K shop lights. And what that means is they are 6500 Kelvin, and Kelvin is a temperature rating. So they are 6,500 degrees Kelvin, which is the closest you can get to natural light. And then the 2200 lumen measures the amount of brightness. These are much more affordable, much more practical, especially if you need a lot of them, than your traditional full spectrum grow light. So if you're just starting out, or if you're like me and you're just a home gardener and you don't want to invest thousands and thousands of dollars into lighting, this is a really good option. I got these on Amazon. I have a ton of them because I do 4 lights per shelf, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 7 shelves per rack, and I have enough lights to fill all 5 of my racks. So I have a lot of them, but they were really affordable on Amazon and they work beautifully. I have not had any trouble with them. And I do need light in here. This is where I grow my starts. And even though there are 9 floor to ceiling windows and 9 skylights, I live in upstate New York. We have a chronic cloud cover here. So even with all of these windows, there is not enough light for these seedlings to thrive. They have to be under lights. So let me give you a look at the table, and then I'm going to sit down and we are going to do some DIY soil blocks. So I'm going to start with the soil blocks. I've already made a whole bunch. I made those last night, trying to kind of speed things up. I'm kind of, on a time crunch this time of year in the spring. If you grow your own plants, you know. So what I have here, I need my little book. I have a little planner here where I wrote some notes down. So I've been playing around with the soil blocks now since the beginning of March, and this is the first week in April. As I mentioned, I don't like the little tiny ones. They work. I mean, you can pack them in and they come out beautifully, and they have a little divot in them to put a seed in. But the problem is labeling them and keeping the labels straight, making sure that they don't dry out, making sure that they don't move and they stay where you've put them. Otherwise, you end up with mystery peppers like I have this year. And then the medium-sized block I do like that one. I have some tomatoes on the shelf that are in that medium-sized block right now and are going to need to be up potted soon. And then there's that great big block, and that great big block it's a beast, and it's really hard to get the soil to work in there. Not only that, but it takes up, the block is like this, and so it takes up so much space, and I don't think that the starts need that much soil, need to take up that much space. So I'm going in between. So what I've done is I've just gotten this little reusable, well, it's not reusable, but it had a plant in it that I bought from the store. So I think this is probably a 3x3 or a 4x4 cup. And then I have the soil. The soil that I'm using, I have poured boiling water over because I'm using potting soil and worm castings in here, and I want to make sure that I kill any fungus gnats that might be in here. So my formula on this is 4 parts of peat moss, 6 parts of potting soil, and 1 part worm casting. And in this container, that equates to 16 cups of peat moss, 24 cups of potting soil, and 1 cup of worm casting. The peat moss or cocoa coir is what's going to help hold the moisture in, because these blocks, they only have 1 container, 1 edge, so they can dry out in between, especially the larger ones if you're doing the large soil blocks, because they're standing up tall with no protection around the edges. And the potting soil has some perlite in it, which is going to help it stay a little aerated for the roots. And then the worm castings is adding some additional nutrition. The potting soil has a little bit, but the worm castings offer just a little bit more. And while these blocks are not perfect, they're working, and I'm super happy about that. So what I've done, I've got 20 made over here. I already have 2 trays over here that I've done this week, and I have 3 mystery peppers in one of the ones over there that I'll show you. But what I do is I just fill up the block, and your hands will get messy. You might choose to wear gloves for this. And there's actually still some steam coming off of here because I probably poured the boiling water on there about 30 minutes ago. It's cool enough that I can handle it with my hands, but I wouldn't want to plant in it just yet. So I've put the soil in, and I know it's black, so you can't really see that, but it's about 2/3 full. So it's about first knuckle full. And then I'm just going to take a clump of it, and I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to press it up towards the side of the container. And you want it a little bit thick. You don't want too big of a hole in the center when you're done. So two little handfuls on that side, about the same on each side. So I'm just putting some in and pulling it towards me, towards the edge of the pot, and spinning the pot. If I wasn't doing this, I would be filling the solo cups with the soil. So this is not that much more time consuming. And the benefit of using soil blocks is you get healthier plants, because when you use something like this container or a solo cup, your plants can become root bound. The roots hit the plastic, and then they just start spinning and spinning around, and it can stunt them. With soil blocks, they don't do that. They air prune themselves. So they're going to fill up the soil. They're going to move in different directions throughout the soil without hitting that plastic and becoming root bound. So I've packed this in here. I do have a divot here in the center because I have just smushed soil all along the sides. I'm going to flip it upside down, and I'm going to firmly hold it on the palm of my hand while I kind of squeeze the sides to kind of loosen them up a bit. And then I'm going to just keep pinching until this comes off. I flatten down the bottom just a little bit because this is very flexible plastic. So as I was squeezing it, it kind of coned it at the bottom. So I'm just flattening that down a bit, carefully turning it over and setting it down next to the ones I've already made. And this is working. So DIY soil blocks. The large soil blocker, I think it's like $50 or $60. I bought it as a kit. So I have the small, the medium, large. It came as a kit. I think it was about $130. But just that one soil blocker, the large one, it's kind of expensive, and I don't like it. I don't like the size of it. It's too big, takes up way too much space. If I put all of my plants into that size soil block, I'd have 10 racks with plants on them. So I'm trying this, and I think it's going to work. I'm just going to make one more block for you here, and then I'll bring over a tray that I've already done, and we'll get some stuff potted up. Another thing is, as I'm squeezing this soil, there is moisture that I'm seeing run out of the soil as I'm squeezing it. You do want this moist. It's not going to hold together if it's not moist. So I've got it packed in there really well. The sides are a little bulging here on this. I've got my divot in the center. I've got my walls built. Now I'm going to kind of compact it down and then start squeezing the sides to get it out until it lifts off. And it's a little cone head because of the squeeze. So I'm just going to pat that down a little bit, turn this guy over, and shimmy him in to place. There we go. Now, this is not going to last. This is a very cheap and flimsy plastic. So if I can snag something this year, I will. Or, I mean, I think I have a few of these, so I can just replace this if it breaks. But this method is going to get me off of my reliance on plastic. So better eco-friendly, better carbon footprint, healthier plants, less money over time because I'm not having to replace that plastic. So I'm kind of loving it at this point. I was really second guessing my decision to use soil blocks this year. I've been seed starting. This is my 6th season, and I've always had really, really good germination. I love the method, the foil pan method that I use for mass sowing seeds. And then I always liked potting them up into the solo cups. I put the solo cups onto cafeteria trays. I can put 12 cups on a tray. It slides really easily onto the rack that way. Keeps everything neat. It's an easy way to transfer. It's an easy way to transfer them in and out of the house when you're hardening them off. But again, I don't want to use plastic anymore. I want to use as little plastic as possible. So I'm going to finish building this whole tray of blocks later, but I want to get some stuff potted up to show you how these work. All right, I hope that you're going to be able to see what I'm doing, but these are tomatoes. I've already up-potted some of them, and these were the medium-sized soil blocks, and I kind of planted en masse in here, and these really need to be separated. So I am going to use my little tool here, and I'm going to just pull out one block at a time. And I really should have done this last weekend because these guys are really big now. So these are all A. Blinkens that I'm pulling out right now. I'm just going to carefully pull that out. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got eight A. Blinkens right here. That's way more than I need. I've actually already potted up a bunch of the A. Blinkens, but I am still going to do a couple of more. These are my favorite tomatoes. They are really big. They are, I think the average was 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds last year. That's a big tomato. And they are great to cook down as sauce, and they are also great to slice. They are great in tomato pie, and they have a really delicious flavor. So with these blocks, I think you can see that they have the little divots in them. So all I am going to do is place one in the divot and put soil over the top of it. And I'm going to use some new soil so I keep the walls. The last potting up or up potting video that I did, I kind of tucked everything in, and that made it hard to water because it did not have walls to keep the water in. So they're doing fine. The plants are doing fine, but I want to make sure that I get them seated in there pretty well. So I'm going to do 3 of these. I'm going to pick 3 that come out nicely when I pull them away and that have some of the larger stems. The other thing with tomatoes, and I'm just carefully teasing these guys apart. So I'm holding the base of the stem and then just gently pulling them apart so that they each maintain their root structure. So the other thing with tomatoes is you can plant them all the way up to the first leaf, because you can, or even further if you want to, but you can see that they have little, I don't know if you can see in here, they have little hairs on the stem, and those will turn into roots. So if you plant them deep, then that extra stem area will become root area and you'll have a healthier plant. So we're going to bury this guy as deep as we can, and I can do that again when I transplant them outside. So I'm going to bury him up to that first leaf. And we're going to do one more. I'm going to take some of that soil off of his roots. And so I'm just going to drop him into I'm going to make sure that he can get down there. I'm going to drop him into the hole and bury him up to his first set of leaves, and then cover him with soil, leaving the walls of the soil block intact. And there we go. And now I'll take my tag and just put it on the edge here. So these 3 tomatoes are Abe Lincoln. And then these, I don't know what I'm going to do with these yet. Normally I would put them in a solo cup and just keep growing them and give them away at the end of the season. But I am trying so hard to stick with my original game plan, which is to plant what I'm going to plant and not overdo it. It gets a little overwhelming. So we're going to stick with this. All right, the next one, these are also Abe Lincolns. I planted a lot of Abe Lincolns. Okay, here's a pork chop. So I'm going to take my tool. I know it's really hard to see in here because there's so many, but you can see that I have tags in between. So the ones between these tags are Abe Lincolns, and I'm just going to kind of go back along the edges of the soil block and use the shovel side to re-engage that linear divide. And then I will use this as a shovel to just kind of lift that square back up. Just like this. All right, so for pork chop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have 6 of those. And they are so ready to be separated. I mean, they're fine like this, but they're going to start to grow much faster once they have their own space. So here's 1. I'll do, I think, 3. Teasing off some of the dirt from his roots. That's 2. And I like this guy. He's got a nice thick stem, thicker than the rest. And there's 3. So again, I am going to just make sure that I can plant him straight down into that divot as deep as possible and cover him up with some soil. And the top of the soil that I'm using is cool enough to put over the top of these. It's been exposed to the air long enough. It's when you dig in there that it gets warm. And then I just need my tag to mark these 3 as pork chop tomatoes. Next, I have some sweet cherry saves. So this tomato plant popped up in my garden growing amongst my blackberry bush. I have no idea what variety it is or where it came from, but it was an incredibly healthy plant. It was really prolific in terms of fruit production, and it was really sweet. So I decided to save some seeds from that and grow it again. I'm only going to do, I think, 2 of these. So I've got to separate them. This one looks really good. This is a nice size one right here. And I'm just going to kind of tease that soil block so it gets rid of a lot of the dirt and I'm left with mostly roots so that I can get it seeded down in the block. I'm just using my finger, getting him down as deep as I can, and then I'll cover his stem with soil. So down to the first set of leaves. And let me find one more in here that looks good. I'm going really by stem size. This guy's good. Just taking the roots with me. You know, the first year I grew tomatoes at this house, I grew them in buckets. I had 60 tomato plants growing in 5-gallon buckets, and it worked great. But my garden has grown and I've made beds, and they're not perfect beds. You'll see them later. But they work. Okay, here's another cherry. Oh, here's a Berry's Crazy Cherry, and I only have one of those, so I'll use him for this block right here. So here's my little Berry's Crazy. I'm going to take some of the soil off of him. He's just a little guy. But he'll get bigger with his own block, with his own room and nutrients. Those are more Abe Lincolns. Boy, I really wanted to make sure I had Abe Lincolns. I have a ton of Abe Lincolns. All right, next we have a Bosque Blue Bumblebee. I've got 2 of those growing and they have really nice stems. So let's get those out of there. These are nice looking guys. I'm gonna, again, take off a lot of the dirt very gently. I'm not forcing this at all. And then I'm just gonna take the plants towards the base where they meet the soil and just gently tease them apart. This guy came out nicely. This guy has a little bit too much soil on him. So I'm just gonna tease some of that off and give him fresh soil. These are Chadwick cherries, and I'm only gonna do one of those because cherry tomatoes are pretty prolific, and I'd rather have more of the larger tomatoes, the slicers, and the there we go, the paste tomatoes. So he's got a nice little root system on him. And I'll show you how these guys do, you know, week by week, but they should be just fine and a lot bigger the next time you see them. All right. Ooh, now we have a San Marzano. Definitely want a few of those. I'll do 3. I've got 4 in here. I'll do 3 of them. And I can do 3 more in this tray, and then I have to get a new tray. This is another San Marzano. So I'll take, and there's 2 in there, so I'll take those 2. Those are some nice looking guys right there. I'm going to split those apart very gently, pulling. And then I've got to get some of the soil off that root ball so he'll fit down into my soil block. Okay, I can do one more. Let me see if there's one that I'm only going to grow one of. No. No, so that means I'm going to have to do a separate tag. And that's okay. All right, so these are Amish paste. I'll put Amish paste right here. And that block just lifts out so nicely. So again, that was the medium soil block. And there we have it. One tray is fully up potted now. So I will get this guy watered in, and he will probably stay on my table until tonight. So I've been doing a 12-hour rotation where the plants that do not fit on the grow wrap come to the table in the evening, and then in the morning I put them on the rack and put some others on the table. They don't need light 24/7. I'm just leaving it on 24/7 and then rotating my trays, so I don't need to set up more than one rack. I'm trying to be minimalistic this year. So there you have it, DIY soil blocks. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 18. So 18 tomatoes in this 10-20 tray. And this is an easy way to pot up your seedlings if they are getting too big in whatever container you started them in and they still need some more time in the house. This is the first week in April. It's towards the end of the first week in April, and I still have at least a month before I can put my summer plants out, so heat-loving plants out. So they definitely needed some more room. Thanks for joining me here at A Better Choice Homestead. Again, my name is Kelly. Thank you so much for joining me on this 2024 garden journey where I am trying a lot of new things, a lot of different ways. Super excited about it, and I hope you come back. I hope you come back and visit again soon.